Rain pounded against the glass walls of the Norfolk Defense Innovation Center as Commander Jason Cole stepped in front of a quiet black woman wearing a faded raincoat. In front of decorated officers and defense executives, he pointed toward the exit and growled, "Show your orders." When she calmly answered that her authorization was classified, he laughed, tore her temporary badge from her jacket, and tossed it onto a catering cart. The room filled with uneasy smiles, but no one spoke. No one questioned him. The woman simply picked up her badge, reattached it to her coat, and noted something down in a worn leather notebook. They thought they were humiliating an ordinary visitor. They had no idea that within minutes, the Pentagon would respond, revealing who she really was and making Commander Cole wish he had asked a very different question. Rain pounded against the towering glass walls of the Norfolk Defense Innovation Center so hard that the harbor lights dissolved into silver streaks. Wind pushed sheets of water across the entrance plaza, forcing late arrivals to hurry inside beneath corporate umbrellas. Inside, warmth replaced the storm. Crystal chandeliers reflected across black marble floors, while digital displays showcased autonomous aircraft, encrypted communication systems, and advanced surveillance equipment. Uniformed service members mingled with executives in tailored suits, discussing procurement schedules and billion-dollar partnerships. Everything projected one unmistakable message: status mattered, and power belonged to those who commanded the room. Commander Jason Cole stood near the secure demonstration chamber like he owned the building. At 41, broad-shouldered and heavily decorated, he carried himself with the effortless confidence of a former Navy SEAL whose combat deployments were legendary. He greeted senior officers with easy smiles and firm handshakes, while young officers watched him with awe. Jason was accustomed to entering every room as though he held ultimate authority. Then, the automatic entrance doors slid open, and a woman stepped inside carrying an old canvas satchel across her shoulder. She closed a small black umbrella and shook rainwater from the sleeves of her faded gray raincoat. Practical walking shoes, dark slacks, no expensive jewelry, and no entourage. She was 52, black, dignified, and composed. She looked less like an attendee of an exclusive defense conference and more like someone who had taken the wrong bus. She walked quietly to the registration desk. The young clerk searched her database twice, frowning when no record appeared under the name Renee Carter. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the clerk offered politely. "I don't see your registration." "My authorization won't appear on the public guest list," Renee replied softly. That was when Commander Jason Cole stepped over, his shadow falling across the counter. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his eyes sweeping over her worn clothing with immediate disdain. Renee turned to face the decorated officer, her posture perfectly straight. "No problem, Commander. Just a minor verification delay." Cole didn't check her identification. He didn't ask for her credentials. Instead, he saw a black woman in a faded coat holding a temporary guest badge that read General Support, and he made a fatal assumption. "This demonstration is restricted to active personnel, project leaders, and vetted contractors," Cole said, stepping into her space to assert dominance. "Show your orders, ma'am, right now." "My orders are classified under Special Access Protocols," Renee stated evenly, her voice steady and carrying a quiet weight that unsettled the clerk. "If you contact the Joint Chiefs Executive Directorate, they will confirm my access." A cruel smile touched Cole's lips. To him, her calm demeanor was nothing more than an arrogant bluff. "Special access?" he scoffed loudly enough for nearby officers to hear. "Ma'am, I know every high-level clearing officer in this region, and I don't know you." Without warning, Cole reached out, grabbed the temporary badge pinned to her raincoat, and ripped it free with a sharp tug. He tossed it onto a passing catering cart loaded with coffee cups. "You're in the wrong building," Cole said, pointing directly toward the rain-slicked glass exit. "Stepping past these doors without authorization is a federal offense. Leave before I have security escort you out in cuffs." A heavy silence descended over the lobby. Several officers looked away, uncomfortable, but no one stepped in to challenge the decorated Navy SEAL. Renee did not flinch, shrink back, or raise her voice. She walked over to the catering cart, picked up her badge and reattached it to her lapel. Then, pulling a worn leather notebook from her satchel, she unclipped a silver pen and calmly wrote down Cole's name, rank, and unit number. As she wrote, her hand rested for a fraction of a second on a tarnished brass token attached to her satchel strap, a worn military challenge coin with faded engravings that everyone in the room ignored. "Are you writing a complaint?" Cole mocked, chuckling as his junior officers offered nervous smiles. "Go ahead, tell them Commander Cole told you to follow security protocols." Renee closed the notebook and placed it back in her satchel. "I won't need to file a complaint, Commander," she said quietly. "The record speaks for itself." She pulled a secure satellite phone from her pouch, dialed a 10-digit number, and placed it to her ear. Cole rolled his eyes, assuming she was calling a taxi or a local supervisor. But across the country, in Washington, D.C., inside a vault beneath the Pentagon, the call bypassed 3 administrative layers and rang directly on the desk of a 4-star admiral serving as the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "Dr. Carter," the admiral answered immediately. "Are you inside the facility?" "I am, at the main security checkpoint in Norfolk, Admiral. Commander Jason Cole has denied my clearance, destroyed my credentials, and ordered my removal under threat of arrest. He refuses to verify special access clearance protocols." On the other end of the line, the admiral's tone turned ice cold. "Hold your position, Dr. Carter. Do not leave that lobby." Renee lowered her phone. Cole smirked, folding his arms. "Nice performance. Who was that? The building manager?" Before Renee could answer, the heavy steel security doors behind Cole hummed violently as an automated lockdown alarm chimed 3 times. Every digital monitor in the lobby suddenly went dark, replaced by a flashing red Pentagon crest. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly from smug condescension to sheer panic. High-ranking military brass froze as the main facility doors locked automatically. Commander Cole's personal encrypted radio buzzed with harsh static before the voice of the base security chief cut through, sounding frantic. "Commander Cole, what is happening at the main entrance? The Pentagon just initiated a Level 1 command override on your entire sector." Before Cole could process the words, a high-ranking regional director of defense intelligence bounded down the marble staircase, clutching a tablet showing a live video feed from D.C. His face was completely drained of color. "Where is Dr. Renee Carter?" the director shouted, his eyes scanning the crowd wildly until they landed on the woman in the faded raincoat. He sprinted toward her, nearly stumbling over his own feet, and stopped 3 feet away, coming to a rigid, trembling attention. "Dr. Carter, ma'am," the director stammered, sweating profusely. We were not informed you would be conducting the surprise readiness audit personally." Cole stepped forward, his heart pounding against his ribs. "Director, what is this? She claimed her orders were classified. She's wearing a support badge." "Shut your mouth, Jason," the director snapped with a fury that stunned the entire lobby. He turned his tablet toward Cole. On the screen was Dr. Renee Carter's official profile under the Department of Defense Executive Senior Executive Service. She was not a guest. She was the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Operational Evaluation, the Chief Civilian Oversight Officer who held absolute authority to shut down, reallocate, or terminate multi-billion-dollar military contracts and relieve commanders of duty on the spot. Cole stared at the screen, the breath completely leaving his lungs. The woman he had publicly humiliated, stripped of credentials, and threatened with arrest possessed the executive authority to end his career with the stroke of a pen. Dr. Carter stepped forward, her expression unreadable and her posture commanding the entire marble hall. She reached down and lightly touched the tarnished brass token on her satchel, the legacy token awarded to her late father, one of the first black master divers in Navy history, who had served in the same harbor decades before when black citizens were not even allowed through the main gate. "Commander Cole," Dr. Carter said, her voice cutting through the silent lobby like a blade. "You asked to see my orders." Cole stood paralyzed, his hands shaking at his sides, completely unable to meet her eyes. "Dr. Carter, I made an assumption based on your appearance. I sincerely apologize." "You made an assumption based on your arrogance," she interrupted firmly. "You believed authority was defined by your rank and your audience. You failed basic security verification, abused your position, and demonstrated a complete lack of discipline." She turned to the director. "Cancel today's demonstration, freeze all program funding pending a full administrative review, and place Commander Cole on immediate administrative hold." As military police officers stepped forward to escort a pale, silent Jason Cole out of the building, Dr. Carter adjusted her canvas satchel and walked calmly past the heavy steel doors into the vault. True authority is never declared through loudness or arrogance. It is carried in the quiet strength of those whose dignity cannot be shaken by the ignorance of others.